And I think as I get older, I think one of the biggest things is my perception has changed so dramatically, especially as I've become a parent. Because I used to even have the stigma of anybody that was homeschooled as being like a country bumpkin idiot. That I
Now you're
see
like, I
what,
could teach my kid better than any of you fuckers.
yes, 100%,
I
100%.
agree. I thought it was like, yeah, like a country bumpkin thing being like, oh, like I have 5 kids. Let's just keep them at home and teach them. I'm like, what are you going to teach them? Like, you're not
Yeah.
educated. But no, like there's this big like mommy influencer community that predominantly homeschools. And so I was talking to a girl once because I was kind of intrigued by it. And she was like, yeah, you basically buy, like, you shop around and look at education, like plans and programs, and you read the reviews of like what parents are using the best ones. And like, it's a full on plan and program and curriculum. She's like, it's fine.
Yeah. So if I can make enough money that we can afford my wife not to work, I think we will. I have twin boys and they're like a year and a half.
Age 5 comes around real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Oh, do you still talk in that like 16 months, 17 months?
no, I don't. I don't. That's the one thing I made a
That's like
point
a
to do.
TikTok like meme right now.
God, it is so frustrating to me when someone's like, "Oh, how old is your kid?" And, "Oh, they're about 27 months." And it's
Yeah.
like, I is that 2?
Yeah. I'm
I
like, do the math
it's just
for
like,
me.
just say 2. Like, anytime it was before a year, I was totally fine.
Of
Anytime after a
course.
year, I'm just like, "They're a year.
Yeah.
They're a year and a half. They're 2."
Yeah.
So,
I don't actually know why people do that.
yeah,
It's really funny.
and the other thing that's super weird is once you become a parent, you actually understand certain stages of when kids should be doing things. So when somebody would come up to me and they would tell me, "Oh, my kid is walking," and I would be looking at them like, "Is that a good thing?" Like, they're 5 years old. I don't know when anything is supposed to happen until I become a parent.
Yeah,
So now that I see it, it's
exactly.
like, okay, now I understand. It's like being part of the secret club. Uh,
But then there's like a hierarchy where it's like, my kid is 9 months and walking, you know?
exactly. And that's one thing that I definitely tried not to be is the type of person who was always bragging about my
Like
kids,
one
and
upping.
the one upper is the worst. How many of those do you have in your family where you're like, I don't believe you. Okay, that's fine.
I feel like that even gets worse because it's like a lot of parents live vicariously through their kids as they grow up, where it's like, well, my kid made the star basketball team. It's
Mhm.
like, great. Like, who cares?
I think I'm gonna make it a point to tell my kids and tell people around me how average my kids are. Like,
Be like,
they
yeah,
got a
they're not
haircut
that
today.
great.
So,
What's the
and
twin dynamic? Best thing
so
ever.
God, I will have to send you this video, but
Do
I
they dress them the
have
same?
my wife does. I
That's
do
so
not.
cute.
I cannot match to save my life. And so I put them in this Mickey Mouse shirt the other day and Mickey Mouse shorts. And I was super proud. I was like, hell yeah, got them matching. And then my wife comes in later on and she was like laughing at me. I'm like, what?
What the hell are they
And
wearing?
what are they wearing? They don't even match. I'm like, what are you talking about? It says Mickey Mouse and Mickey Mouse. Like, I nailed it today. I nailed this. So that's super frustrating. But yeah, she definitely tries to dress them the same. She does all the cutesy stuff, and I'm just excited to play with them. Like that's my
Yeah.
main thing is I get to come home and they are happy to see me. It's the first time in my life, besides like a dog, that's always happy to see you. And it is the best feeling in the entire world to have somebody that loves you regardless
Unconditionally.
of anything, unconditionally. I honestly did not think I would like being a dad nearly as much as
Really? How old are you
oh
again?
my God. So I'm 32.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good age to have kids. I feel like that's like a
Yeah.
solid age.
Well, so I met my wife when I was 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so we started dating, walked in the door at this party, and I looked to my left and she was right there. And I was starstruck.
You were
Like
started dating her that night? You
we
wish.
started talking and I just got her number and we started talking. And for like, we just were inseparable. Literally for the first 3 years, we had been apart for 6 days. Like we were never apart. Like, and it just never felt uncomfortable. It was
Mhm.
the first time that I'd ever been able to have a conversation with somebody where it didn't feel weird, where I could be sitting there in total silence, or we could just have a conversation and everything just flowed so naturally. And I felt like that was one of the very first reasons why I felt she was different.
Mm.
I remember when I was previous to that, when I was in high school, I was selling cars, and there was this couple that came in that was young. And when we sat down to do the paperwork, I just watched in awe at the way that they were so perfect together. It was almost like a dance. Whenever they would have conversations, it just flowed so naturally. And I remember seeing that and realizing at the time, I'm with this girl. It was, my girlfriend at the time. I was 16, 17, whatever it was. And I was like, I just never have that. I don't have that feeling
And
with
right
her.
then you're like, I know I could get what they have
Yeah,
somewhere with
yeah.
someone. There you go.
That was the first thing. Okay, the second thing, and this is when we were dating, I felt different. The second thing, and the reason why I knew I was gonna marry her, this is the exact reason. So, growing up, we grew up in a home where we went to church 3 times a week,
What?
and so
Sorry, what
very
religion are
hardcore
you?
Christian. That was Pentecostal. Now it's more non-denominational Christian, but we were there 3 times a week, and then we were hardcore. So one of the things that we did when I was growing up, and this was a sign of humility. So in the Bible, it talks about how Jesus washed the apostles' feet. And so it's a way of submitting yourself. So I always thought it was really weird when we did it because I was a little kid and I was like, I don't want to touch this person's feet. This is disgusting. So about 3, 4 years into mine and Nicole's relationship, and I was working 2 jobs. I was working overnight. I was just killing myself to just get better at whatever it was that I was doing, and I just came home. I've never told her the story of that we did that or anything like that. I came over to her house and she was like, "Hey, you look super tired." I was like, "I am exhausted." And she goes, "Sit down." It's like, "Okay." So she had a chair, she got this little towel and she just like put it down. She goes, "Come here." Okay. She filled up this basin with water and she just like took off my socks and shoes, started washing my feet, like giving me a massage. And I was like, oh no, I got to get married to you. It was, it was just so different to me because
What did that symbolize for you though?
so it was like a sign from God, honestly, like that a girl that I had never told this to that could come over to me and do that, and it was it was it was kind of the most beautiful thing ever in the sense of, like, I had never told her, like, "Hey, I need you to wash my feet." I'm not that type of person in any way, shape, or form. You do what you wanna do, and so it was just this way of submitting to me in a way that, like, I love you more than anything, like, I wanna take care of you. Just being taken care of by a woman, it just it makes you wanna get up in the morning, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed when I look around at the world of single people who are dating. It's it's so different. It is all about me versus all about the other person,
Mm.
and it's very interesting to watch because it makes me so happy that I'm married. I'm married to my wife specifically, but it is hard to see there. I mean, marriage is there's so many different ups and downs. Even talking about just that thing where she came and washed my feet, it just feels like that someone would call you a sexist for even doing. But it's like I never even asked for that. I never said anything. I never mentioned it. But literally, that level of desire for her to want to take care of me, it instantly made me feel like, God, I got to get married to this person. Like, I don't think I could find anybody out there that would even consider doing this in any way. I don't know. I don't know. That was literally the moment where it changed in my head. I didn't even consider marriage before. That moment, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get married to her."
Do you think she realized that in the time? Have you ever told her that story?
I've told her that story. I know she wanted to get married. She's very traditional, so she wanted to get married. She comes from a family of 4, used to having kids. She just always wanted to have kids and get married. I mean, that was kind of it. And so, she's a nurse. And so it was never like, I want to quit my job and only raise kids. No, no. I mean, she wants to be a professional. She wants to do all the things, but she just wanted to get married and she wanted to have kids. So yeah, when I tell her that story, she just kind of smiles and just goes on about it, but doesn't really talk about it.
But her doing that was so natural. If you say she's a nurse and obviously she probably wasn't a nurse at this time, but, like, she
Right.
had that in her blood, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously those were
Exactly.
qualities that you didn't even know you were looking for, but she was
Exactly.
just exuding them. You're like, "Wait, that's exactly what I want in a wife."
That is 100% what you're saying, 100% accurate, and it's just feeling taken care of, feeling loved. There's just no feeling like that. My mom, I love my mother, and one of the things growing up is I'm Mexican and Cole's white, and so growing up, I just never thought she'd learn how to cook like my mom because my mom makes really traditional.
Obviously, Mexican
Yeah.
is one of the best cuisines. It's that or Indian for me.
But just the way that my mom would do it, and she would just do so many different dishes, and the one day where, like, Nicole started getting better than my mom at cooking, I was like, "What is happening here?" I told her, I go, "Hey, this is better than my mom makes it. How did you do this?" She goes, "Your mom makes it to the way that your dad likes it. I make it to the way that you like it." And
Mm.
so that was the difference. I was like, "Oh my god, this is why it's so good." So I mean, bar none, my wife is literally the best cook in the entire world. Like nobody can top her because everything is catered towards me. And it's not like she doesn't like it, you know? That's one of the weird things about having this type of conversation right now in 2021 because it feels like everything that I'm saying is just something that I think was so that's so common. You know, back in the day, that's just how we did it as humans. Husband and wife, they'd get married, and it's just always looked down as the patriarchy at this point or a bad thing. And I just I don't understand that take in certain ways because it's like this is what builds countries, this is what builds families, this is what builds nations, is just relying like everyone has a certain skill set. You know, I don't know what mine are, honestly. But I mean, she's great at everything and I would go out and I would die for her, right? Like isn't that the point like of a husband? Like you're the protector, you're supposed to go out and you're supposed to sacrifice your life to take care of these people. If you have to go to war, the men go to war and men die. And everything just gets tainted, I think, in because everything gets taken to the extreme, right? Like, oh, just because you're doing that, you don't want women to vote. It's like that's crazy. I've never been, I don't think, derogatory towards women or wanting to do the things that they want to do. But what I've seen, which is crazy to me, is the way that women will get judged just for wanting to live that life. And I thought that was the whole tenet of being a feminist is having the opportunity to live the way that you wanted to do. So when a woman goes, hey, you know what? I don't want to go to the workforce. I don't want to work this 9 to 5 job that's sucking my soul out. I want to be with my family. I want to raise my kids. I want to raise them the way I want to. I just don't understand how that's not okay anymore. I don't understand why women get judged for wanting that to be the outcome. Not everybody wants to go into politics. Not everybody wants to work for a Fortune 500 company. And that's okay. Like you want to be a real estate agent. And I am so like on board. If I lived in Canada and if I knew anybody that was in your area, I'd be like, hey, check out
Call
Janelle.
Janelle.
100%. Like, because you get to follow your dream and the way that you want to do things. So I think that's awesome. But also, my wife wants to do things a certain way. And like, I support her. Like, if she wants to take care of this family, like, it only like makes me more excited to be her husband, that she would want to raise the kids. Because now, and that's the other thing is being a dad, I realize how worthless my life is in a sense. Like I used to want so many more things in the material world. I wanted to run this giant company so that I could go everywhere and travel the world. And now I don't care about any of that stuff. Now I want to have more kids. I want to raise them and spend all my time with them. And it just, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me because like I was very take it or leave it when it came to being a
Mhm.
dad in the first place. So she was so on board with being a mom. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the connection when she had a miscarriage. I tried, you know, I
You're
tried
never
to
gonna
understand
understand.
and I did everything I could and I felt like a bad person for not having any emotional connection to what she was feeling. Like she would cry every night once she lost the baby. And I was like, it was like 7 weeks. Like in my head, rationally, I could not understand like how this thing made her so broken inside. And then
It's a lot
even
more scientific than that.
it's so different. It's so
So
different.
different. But it's totally okay that you don't have any emotion attached to it. Even me, I've never had a miscarriage and I'm still a woman, but I still don't understand.
Mhm.
You know, it's not a male female thing. It's like unless you've gone through it yourself, you don't understand. You can have empathy, you can have sympathy, but you don't really know, you know?
Mhm.
But I
And I
get what
felt
you're
like a
saying
bad
'cause you're like,
person.
"That was part of me too, but yet I don't feel
Mhm.
that way."
Exactly.
But it's like
Exactly.
it's completely different because it's, like, not in you.
Mhm.
There's so much to it in terms of it's hormones.
Mhm.
It's like you're building it, like,
Mhm.
even though it's been taken out of you, you had a miscarriage, like, it still feels like it's there, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And so it is that was a big thing. When she had the miscarriage, I felt like a bad person for not understanding. And it made me feel even more like I was gonna be a bad father. Because if I can't even connect with you on something that's this big to you, what does that say about me? When the kids were born, it was awesome, right? But I had no emotional connection. I was like, I could literally go get a pack of cigarettes and not come back, and I don't even think I'd felt that bad. Like, I and I
Did
say
that
that kinda
fuck you up a
jokingly, but,
bit in
like,
your mind?
it does, because it's
Yeah.
like, I don't feel like I don't feel like we talk about this as guys as far as, like, what it's supposed to feel like. What did you feel like because as soon as you have a baby, most of the time everything is so chaotic and so on fire that you don't really have time to text your friends and tell them what's going on. And then on top of that, as a guy, like I'm not, I don't know, it's hard to ask somebody like, what did this feel like? Did you feel like this? And then really like explore it. Like we just don't talk like that. And so for me to not feel the way that I thought I would feel, that was different. And I thought, man, is there something wrong with me? And it took so long to build up that relationship.
But I find that interesting. So if I was in your shoes and had something like that happen, or say if I went through something with my relationship, my first instinct is to text one of my girlfriends or call one of my girlfriends and be like, "What did you do when you went through this?" And the issue is you are never going to text one of your guy friends or another
Mhm,
male being like, "I know you guys went through a miscarriage. Like, how did you feel?" And
mhm,
it's not that other people aren't feeling that way. It's you guys like don't ever reach out and converse
mm-mm,
with each other, where that's what we do. And you go
mhm,
back to kind of the traditional male female, women are all about community and helping
mhm,
each other. So it's like
mhm.
the moment we're upset, like we reach out to each other. We feel therapeutic talking to each other and whatnot, you know?
A
But
and that's the
guys
other thing about
I
friends.
don't know
No,
why. I think it's a big topic of conversation.
well, and I think not just that, but I think things have been very different as I've gotten older when it comes to friendships. I've had friends for years, but I've never really built really deep relationships. So with my dad is the greatest dude ever. Like he can do everything. The only thing we are really bad at is communication. Like my dad, I do my best. It takes like a 4-hour road trip for us to have a semi-long conversation, but it does not flow easy. It's hard to pull questions out. And I do interviews, so I feel like it would be easy, but I mean, that's just never been an easy thing to do. In addition to that, when it comes to friendships, I feel like I've never, as a guy, had very deep relationships because what happens most of the time is whenever my friends are talking about something and it's like a deep topic that makes me start to feel like, I don't know if I should be knowing this. I feel like this is kind of uncomfortable. I kind of like make a joke and transition off of it. And so what's happened over the past couple of years, especially after going through 2016 to 2020, as you know, that really did put a strain on relationships, and I realized how much politics can divide friends and family. So that was the biggest thing is anytime I'd be in this group conversation with, some buddies, we'd be talking, and then once it would start to get political, like, we would definitely go back and forth, but eventually it just got to the point where I realized, like, it's not even like I'm making a difference when I go down these rabbit holes, and then I felt angry at the end. So it was like, why even talk? Because it just feels like it's going political, and then so yeah, like relationships have changed, and I've really started to notice that when I got into a big fight with these guys and they actually pointed out like, "Dude, you don't really know anything about me because you don't ask questions."
But are
And
they
I
asking you anything?
not really.
Well,
Like, they do it back and forth between each other, but
mm,
like, because we're a group of friends, but like they're better at communicating. And so, I just feel like a lot of times if I'm talking to a guy, certain things are it's not off limits, but it's like if it's uncomfortable, that means it's not my business.
hmm,
Whereas I feel it's interesting to watch the way that women will talk about everything and
everything.
really get it yeah, and really get into like the nitty-gritty and it shows how it builds your relationship. So that's actually one of the things over the past 6 months that I've realized about myself is like I put up a lot of barriers when it comes to conversation because of the level of discomfort that I have, but maybe that's them actually wanting to open up. So I am barely learning this and I'm in my 30s.
Well, I remember you did a really good interview on your podcast recently of a guy, and he was like, the moment you start feeling like if you feel like the person's uncomfortable or you're uncomfortable, dig deeper. Like that's where you're going to get
Mhm,
the good answers and the good insight. Like
mhm.
that's not the time to back away. And I thought that was a really good point on his part.
Yeah. Yeah, Andrew Warner, I mean, he's interviewed, 2,000 people and millionaires and billionaires, so and he gets them to open up, like, stuff that it blows you away that they would admit to it, how much money they're making. There's so many t subjects that are taboo, and if I had one superpower, it would literally be to get people to answer and open up more because it's so hard for me. I feel like that is one of my biggest barriers is I'm so bad about going that extra step, and whenever it gets uncomfortable, I just stop. And that's one of the things that I've realized, like, in the world of business, that I may not be the entrepreneur that I always thought I was gonna be. I have loved business from, being 20 years old and just seeing like the way that business can change the world. You could create a product and you can really change and impact people's lives. And so I always told myself, I can do this. I can be this great entrepreneur. I can build all this stuff. Like I can do it. The only reason why I'm not is because I'm stuck in this job, because I'm stuck doing this, but I
Mm.
had that passion inside of me. So like my first step into doing entrepreneurship or just reaching out on my own was like just the podcast, because I had to go out and I had to start talking to people and doing stuff that was out of my comfort level. And you always tell yourself like, I'm going to be so great at this. Well, fast forward, I'm doing these podcasts for over a year. I finally meet somebody who he builds his company in 11 months. He's over $6 million in revenue. And afterwards, he explains, like, dude, like, this is awesome. This is how you do it. He's like, let me give you my login to get into this program so you can see like what it's like. And it was a couple $1,000s. Like, dude, you're giving me your like, this is amazing. Thank you so much. And so the more I watched it, I was like, yeah, I can do this. So I end up going out. I tell Nicole, babe, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and I will cash out my retirement. I have to go all in when it comes to starting this business. And I mean, it's not like we have a lot of money, but she was like, well, I don't know. Maybe
But
you
you
should
had
do
the
this and this and this
conviction.
first.
So
I did. I did. And I was like, I don't care what obstacles in my way. I'm going to do this.
mhm.
I go out. We end up taking out this loan. I'm like, no, I'm going to make it back with profits. And unfortunately for me, one of my other issues is the fact that like I start very hot. Like I come in and I'm ready to do everything. But then when I don't have early success, I start to get sad. I start to get down on myself. And I'm watching all these other people around me who are succeeding. And yet I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can't do this, because the tiniest obstacle will come up sometimes, an email. And I'm like, oh, I get so in my head about how to just respond on the email as opposed to just being like, hey, let's do this, send. I overthink so much. And so one of the things recently is I started to think, hey, maybe you're not made for entrepreneurship. Maybe you're not made to be that leader. And maybe you're just made to be a number two and a number three and get a
Why?
role. And somebody tells I don't know. I'm just saying like that's what ends up going in my head is realizing like
You
not
spiral.
everybody's yeah, not everybody's made to be a leader though. Not everybody's made to be the number one in a company to drive a vision forward, especially when you get caught up on little things like emails or tiny little responses
Yeah, but
and stopping when it gets too hard.
you hire your second person to keep you on track. Some of the best founders are all over the place and they hire someone who's a little bit more detail oriented to kind of be their right hand man.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think
Well,
you're selling
and what
yourself short.
I think so too. I think so too. It's just it's not having early success was really difficult. Not
I
because
get it.
you would think that if I'm coming out and all these people that I've interviewed, hey, work for free if you have to, just get the reviews, just do, get some early success. And so I started reaching out to people and I was telling them, hey, I will do this, I'll work for free. And I was
And this
shocked.
is with your marketing
This
agency.
this is with my marketing agency.
Cool.
I was blown away by the lack of people that wanted to work with you when you offer it for free. It was almost like they were being scammed. People
Of
like
course.
that was so weird. I was like, dude, I'm literally I'm a person.
You
I
get
will
the
work for
opposite
free.
effect.
It was the weirdest thing because everyone kept saying like work for free if you have to. And so that was in my head.
No,
And
no,
now
no,
I'm like,
no. That advice doesn't line up to that. That's different.
I was like, should I spend like should I charge you $5,000 and then you'll be interested in
Yes.
working for me or working with me? Like letting me
It's
work for
all
you.
perception.
It's weird and it's just so unexpected. And one of the other things too is I don't think Nicole really believed in me in the sense of when I would do certain things in business. She knows how I am. I can start off really hot, like I said, and then I kind of let things trail off. And she was like, well, if you're spending $10,000, then you know what? I thought you would be far more balls to the wall about it. And, I was just telling, like, I was getting caught up in cold email, like trying to just set up a system to do cold email. I was running into all these email issues, all these tech issues. It felt like every single thing that I did, I would run into an issue. And it was like, God, am I even meant for this? Because this is crazy that I suck so bad at all these little things. All I want to do is I want to go out and go to work for somebody. Like I want to go out and I want to bring in all these clients and I don't care. I will literally work for free. Like I am hungry to go out and help you. And so I just thought that would shine through. And when it didn't, it was really surprising. And then I'd have more stupid tech issues that were just annoying. And so I did start to get discouraged. And so, I'm having a conversation with Cole and I tell her like, hey, I'm sorry I haven't made any money from this. Like, I really thought I would be, 10 times farther than where I am now. And it was like, yeah, I kind of thought this was going to happen. That's the sense that I got from her. And, I've been in business for, let's say, 2.5 months. So a couple of weeks ago, she comes up to me and she's like, hey, she's at the hospital. And because of the fact that we are going through IVF again in December, she doesn't want to get vaccinated because of long-term results. Even though they say it's safe, she's like, I've had so many issues. I don't want to get injected. And especially because of the fact we also just had COVID. So she's like, I have immunity. Like, I want to figure out a way to do this where I can make some money because, I wasn't making the additional income that we'd hoped for. She's like, I want to go out and I want to find something where I can make money. I want to, I want to contribute. And I was like, okay. I mean, I support you 100%. So she wants to get involved in an MLM. And I know every single thing in the book that people say about MLMs. I did one myself, like when I was like
Me too.
2019. So I get it. And I was like, if you really believe in this, like go for it. But in my head, I was thinking, like, you don't know what you're in for when it comes to business, when it comes to the things people will tell you just on the fact that you're part of an MLM. I mean, it is the worst stigma, I feel like, for anybody. And God, I love watching her just power through everything because she gets involved and she starts really getting on Instagram. She really starts promoting herself. She really just is like part of the community nonstop. She's talking about it. And I was like, God, how am I not? Like, I've wanted to be this business guy forever. And I'm watching her go out and crush it. And even though like she's starting to get like little bits of sales, and she comes up to me and she goes, hey, I'm sorry. I go, for what? She goes, I never understood what it was like to be an entrepreneur. I never understood all the things that you went through. Every single time you tried to start something and you would give up because it would get so frustratingly hard. She was like, you were all alone when you were doing it. It's not like you had this community of people that were around you encouraging you. She's like, and then you didn't even have me because I didn't understand it. She's like, I get it. And again, that was, God, it felt so good to be understood for the first time in years. When you try and tell somebody, like, I have this burning desire that I want to go out and help somebody. I want to work for myself. I want to do this. And nobody gets it. Nobody in my family is an entrepreneur. Everyone's like, go work for somebody, and you just get caught in that. Like, it's almost like someone's telling like you can't do it. And then like the one person that is your support system, like they don't even just understand it. And so that was so meaningful when she finally said that. It's not like I was looking for it. It was just so out of the blue that being understood, God, it is a game changer. It feels so different.
Well, let me ask you a few questions. First of all, what do you think is your innate superpower?
Talking with women.
Really?
I I'm not kidding. I'm not saying it in a flirty way. I am saying that I am so comfortable around women having conversations over the phone, and I don't know why.
More
I
than you
just
are with men?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, like,
Really? You're not a guy's
yeah.
guy.
No, and I've probably I've probably explained a lot of issues that I've had in my life, but, like, no. No, 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 like, I've been, like, crazy in love with women, like, from I'm not kidding you, from the time that
You've been girl
I was a
crazy.
baby. Oh god, yes. Oh, yeah. Like, and I never did I have, like, game or anything, like, I was not, I was in no way a ladies' man just by the results of it, like, and especially, like, pretty women would intimidate me like no other. I was just like, "Oh, I don't know what to say." But having conversations, like, I can talk with women, and it's just comfortable. I feel super comfortable talking on the phone. Like, I love that. And then what was funny is, like, doing the podcasting part of it, I realized that, like, oh, attractive women, like, they're just women. Like, that's totally normal. Like, I
Mhm.
don't, there's nothing to be
But
scared
do you
about.
feel like your conversations when you interview women, like, are better?
I do feel like they
You
often
feel more
flow.
comfortable?
I feel far more comfortable with women.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So how does that turn into anything in business? Because ultimately, anything that you start in business or even when you work for someone else, you're gonna get the most flow when you're
Mhm.
doing something that's just so natural to you.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if that's the most natural thing, how does
Well,
that translate into business? Maybe you should be in the MLM. I'm
no,
serious.
I hate doing the ML. No, no, I do think that it translates in this aspect. So when it comes to med spas, that is the market that I'm targeting. And so with
I think you're
med
onto
spas,
something there.
it is highly, highly saturated with women. And I am very, very comfortable because that was one of the things when they said pick a niche that you're going to be good in and that you're going to excel in. I have been working in like home security and GoDaddy domains, website stuff, and I freaking hate that stuff. So I was like, I
You're
do not
bored.
want, I'm so over it.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the med spa industry, I am blown away by how much there is to learn, how much there is to know, how impactful the industry is,
How
how
much
much
money moves around in the
exactly.
industry?
There is so much profits that there, I mean, this is a secret that I am like,
It's not a secret, maybe to you.
it's exactly,
Now you know
exactly.
where
And
all of our money goes.
God, I had no idea. When I was 25, I worked at, GoDaddy, and there was this girl that was constantly getting Botox, and I'm like, "What are you doing? She was 23, 24, and I'm like, "You're very beautiful. You are very young. Why are you
Are
getting
you yeah.
Botox?" It was mind-boggling to me. And then later on, now that I'm doing the research and I'm working with people that are in the field and these owners, these med spa owners, they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's called baby Botox," and we're finding, like, all these long-term lasting results. It's like a muscle when you work out really young, like, older when you get older. I was like, "Oh my god,
Preventative.
that's" yeah, exactly. It's all preventative
I
about
loved your
being in this
episode with the
industry.
Botox girl. Like,
What
it blew my mind because we're women, we know so much about it. We know so much about skincare, food, hair stuff, and it's just so natural to us
Mhm.
that, like, we know all of this information. So hearing you just, like it seemed like you just joined a new planet.
That's what it feels like. I'm a and
It was funny to me because 'cause I'm like, "Right, I guess, like, the average guy has no knowledge of any of this."
I had no idea how many med spas there were around me.
Of
I mean,
course.
I was like, "Holy shit, like, this is incredible. Like, how is nobody, like, doing this?" And everyone's like, "No, there's a lot of people doing this industry." Like,
Everyone.
I had no clue. It was amazing, and the other thing, everybody was so nice. That was one of the
Well,
things
of
that
course,
stood
it's a
out to me.
spa atmosphere.
One of the things that I expect is in business, a lot of times it's competitive, and
No, not with women. This is what you need to realize.
that's the thing. They were, like, recommending other people. I was like, "Hey, who would you
Mhm.
recommend for this a future episode on the podcast for, for this Botox stuff?" And they were so willing to give me all these different names. They gave me, like, 3 different people to reach out to, and
It goes
I
back
was
to
like,
that community part. It's
"Exactly,
very more
exactly."
natural to women where they always say, like, imagine if women were the presidents of our world. Our society and our planet would look very different. And it's
Would
just
look
the
different.
nature of we're just not inherently greedy from a
Mhm.
basic sense. Like we're all like something for everyone, you know?
I just did an episode, I don't know if you caught this one, but it was with another med spa owner, and she had 3 other co-owners. So this is 4 people co-owning a business, and, like, in my head, that's just like, dude,
A
that is
man would
not gonna work.
never do that.
It's not gonna work in
He
any way, shape, or
hard
form.
enough
That's
to give
crazy.
1% off.
Yeah. And they're like, "Nope, we're all co-owners. We all have to split the profits." And it sucked because they started it during COVID, and they're like, "We had to take less." But because of the profitability in the med spa industry, they had the opportunity to go ahead and do it without running into any issues. And I asked her, like, "What's the main thing? Like, how did you do that?" She's like, "Well, we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. So I'm really good at the marketing side of things. She's really good at the finance part of things." So they all had certain strengths they all just brought together, and they're like, "It's working." And they're growing, and it was so cool to me, when we talk about superpowers, like, and like, I always want to be around women. I want to be surrounded by women. Like, it's, if I was a single guy, like, I'd still be in this industry because, like, there's just so many beautiful people inside and out. But now the funny thing is, if I look at somebody, I'm like, God, she's got lip filler. Like, she's got cheek filler. Like, I
You know
instantly,
now.
oh, like, that's fake. Small change of subject though. For you, you're in
Who's the
Canada.
interviewer here?
I am the interviewer always and forever. When you think about where you wanna be over, like, the next 5 years, with everything that's going on in the world, is there anything that you feel like has changed over the past 3 years with the pandemic that you feel, "You know what? This is a little bit more important to me than I thought it was pre-pandemic?"
That's a loaded question. Look, when I think location wise, my main focus right now is to build a real estate career
Mhm,
so that I'm making significant money that freedom and time opportunity is very possible.
mhm,
So things like I can take a month off and just go wherever the hell I want.
mhm,
I cannot work this month and then work that month, that kind of thing. Whereas when I worked a 9 to 5, like asking for 2 weeks off for Christmas was a little crazy.
mhm.
And it's like, I
Yeah.
have to see my family, you
Right,
know?
right, right.
Whereas now when I booked flights for Christmas the other day, it's like, I don't have to ask for anyone for time off. I can go as long as I want or for as little as I want. When I think about like location and what I'm going to do in the next few years, yeah, it's Toronto is definitely going to be Toronto plus real estate plus podcast is going to be the main focus for the next 3 to 5 years, of course.
Mm.
And then after that, I don't know.
Mhm.
We'll
But
see.
that's career side. Like, what do you want out of life though? Is I mean, because you say like, what do
Freedom,
you yeah, what do you want that for? Like, are you more family focused or are you more career focused at this point?
choice focused.
Mm,
I want to wake up one day and be like, I'm getting on a flight and going to the Bahamas
mhm.
for the next month. And
Is
I
there a
don't have to
s
tell anyone or do anything about it. I can just go and money is not a factor. I'm not worried about anything.
Mhm.
It's just like your life is your choice. And
Yeah,
so I get a real taste of that now, like being a realtor, where it's like, if
right,
I want to sleep until 9:30 or 10 o'clock, like I can.
right.
But if I want to start working at 6 a.m. and be done for the day by 1, I can.
So
And that
the only
switch has been huge for me. Like I feel a lot more in my element.
well, it seems like you're living your dream right now. Like, it seems like literally just doing what you're doing. The only difference would be just making more money
Yeah.
and giving you that a little bit more. But it sounds like you're living your dream. That's
The
amazing.
schedule thing was the biggest thing for me. And
Mhm,
I don't mind like I worked all day, right? And
mhm.
we don't have to be doing this right now. Like we both want to.
Right.
I don't know what it is about my personality, but I really don't like when people tell me what to do. Like I really
Mm,
don't. It does not go over well.
mhm.
So reporting to someone and having my salary dictated by someone else based on their subjective view of me, I'm like, I don't know about that anymore.
Mhm,
I just like, I'm not a good number two. I
mhm,
only operate well when I'm number one, to be
mhm,
honest. When I'm in
mhm.
charge, it just doesn't really suit my personality. So
Is
being an
that
entrepreneur, like, is nice.
but is does that carry through your life? Like, I know my wife
Yeah.
hates being told what to do. Like, I understand, like, how our relationship works, and, like, it's not like, "Oh, I'm the boss, I'm gonna tell you what to do." Like, is that how it works for you? Like, in relationships, you don't want anybody telling you what to do as well? Like, what about marriage? Because that's kind of a lot of times where it is different. Like, where are you with that?
It's definitely gonna be some kind of compromising because I'm traditional in some ways, but not in a lot of ways, you know? And the guy I'm dating right now is very introverted. So that's like also a different dynamic. And I'm very sociable and he's not as much as me. So, but I also grew up in a family where my parents were very 50-50. There was not like any kind of traditional sense in the word at all. Like there was
Right.
many times where my dad stayed at home with me while my mom worked.
Mhm.
My mom and dad shared the cooking and the cleaning, chores and everything very 50-50. I saw my
Mhm.
dad cleaning just as much my mom cleaned. So
Yeah.
it's and I grew up, I'm an only child and a girl.
Mhm.
So I didn't grow up with like me having to dote on older brothers or like take care of siblings. So it's like I think the way you grow up really forms kind of how you see your relationship and you see how your family dynamic is going to be. But in a long-term partnership or long-term marriage with kids, like I want a pretty 50-50 relationship. I still like to play a little bit more of a feminine woman role, but like I have just as many opinions as the man, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. No,
And there's a
I
time and place for those, I think.
yeah, I get that. I definitely understand that 100%, but, like, what about when it comes to the kid thing? Having grown up as an only child, did you miss having a sibling, or were you like, "No, this is best."
No, hell no.
You
Come
don't have to share
on.
anything.
And on my mom's side, I'm the only grandchild.
Mhm.
It's awesome.
So you were always
Literally
spoiled.
awesome. So spoiled.
So then do you feel like your husband would have to spoil you then all the time? Like, do you
No.
think that rubbed off? Or you think that you
No,
grew out of it?
I think it comes back to love languages. Like gifts are not my love language at all. It's like a
Mhm.
0
Oh my
on like
god.
that test. So
Tell Let's talk about this. I love this subject right here, love languages. I
it's
think that
very true. Have
oh
you and
my
your wife
god.
done it?
That is I mean, we've definitely done like, read the book and I think I was 23, 24 when I learned about it, but, like,
It's
just
spot on.
not knowing this subject is crazy. It's so mind-blowing when you actually understand what the love language is of the other person. So
Cause then you
which
can
one are you?
actually, cause that's literally how they feel love.
Mhm, mhm. A and here's one thing is, like, that's really frustrating is, like, when the other person knows what the love language is and, like, it's not their top priority, I think that's really difficult because it's like, I
They
don't
have to
feel
make it
like
their top priority.
and it's like, I don't feel like I should have to tell you what it is because you know what it is. You know, like, I understand reminders here and there, but
Mhm.
there is a big difference when it's like, it just feels like at a certain point you start ignoring,
Mm.
like, what my love language is, you know? And you just feel like you're getting empty, like what they call your love tank. And you feel
I
like,
know.
"Man, this is getting empty," and you start really feeling like you don't realize how negative that effect can be, and you're like, wow, like I feel so bad and I don't know why. Like I'm just so unhappy. And like once it gets filled, you're like, oh God, I feel so much better.
But it's one of those things where you can say to your partner, like, "I don't feel like you love me." And they can be
Hmm.
like, "Wait, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? Of course I love you."
Yeah.
but then it's like, it's the one way of showing love that you need. If they aren't, it doesn't matter anything else that they're doing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So my biggest love language, so mine are pretty even with words of affirmation and acts of service. So my boyfriend's top love language is also words of affirmation. So we definitely fill each other up that way.
Mhm.
Very easy. It's very natural for us to give words of affirmation. And we enjoy getting it. However, my second biggest love language is acts of service. That for him is zero. So
Mhm.
naturally, he's not going to naturally do that. And he's not going to be naturally like wanting to receive it. So
Right.
that's one that he has to be very conscious of. And then on the flip side, for me, gifts is high for him and gifts is zero for me. So that's something
Mhm.
I try to be conscious of. So,
Mhm.
cause to know how we give and receive love.
Yeah.
So even lately, I said to him, I'm like, one of my biggest love languages is acts of service. Here's a few ways that you could show it a bit more. And I
Right.
think I would feel a little bit better.
Mhm.
And it's an immediate correction.
Mhm.
So little things like, I don't want to have to plan the date. If I just worked a full crazy day, I know you did too, but like
Right.
something as little as you being like, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
This is when you need to be ready by. And we get there, just like you take charge. I'm like, that's very attractive. I would feel that my love tank is totally full, you
Mhm.
know?
Mm.
Whereas if I came home and there was tons of gifts, I'm like, okay, why?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Because for me, that's one of the things that it's very easy to recognize, like, what my wife's are when we'll have long conversations, and she's so happy, and I was just like,
Ah,
I'm very much a touchy-feely person, like,
is she quality
very much.
time?
Way more. I think words of affirmation don't do jack shit for her. That's nice for me, I like it, it doesn't but gifts are probably her number 1. Like,
Wow, there you
oh
go.
my god, oh my gosh, and it's little things, it's not like when they say gifts, it's like a Kit Kat bar, "Oh, I was thinking about you, I got you this,"
That's what
and
I
like
mean. Yeah, my
yeah,
boyfriend loves that.
I'm like, "God, this is" and mine is I feel like mine is so simple. Mine is always physical what is it?
Physical touch.
Physical touch. And, it was
Like,
hard to,
hug
like,
me,
explain.
massage me, play with my
Yes.
hair.
Like, she like, when we first talked about it, she always thought it was sex, and I'm like, "Dude, like,
No.
that's great. I love that." Like, I'm
It's
no
literally
one's
sometimes
opposed to
just
that.
being near you.
Just, like, I'm so, like, a touchy-feely person, like, my sister, I call her my love
That's your
bug.
culture, I feel.
I mean, probably, but, like, people just know, like, whenever I see my older sister, she's 11 years older, I mean, like, "Hey, babe, can you do this?" Like, I call basically everybody babe. Like,
Yeah.
that's just they're my loves, and so, like, every time I see my sister, I give her a big old hug and a kiss, and it's just like, everybody knows that's me.
Mhm.
And so, I just figured that you wouldn't have to tell somebody that, like, "Hey, this is who I am." So, like, when you don't receive it from your wife and because especially too, because I understand, like, when you get tired, when you've been watching kids all day, and it's like, that's like the last thing I wanna do when I just had kids all over me. I don't want anybody touching me,
I
you know?
know.
And it's like, I get that, but also, like, I am gonna be here even after the kids leave us.
Yeah.
I like,
That's
like
something you
you
gotta keep in mind.
exactly, exactly, and, like, luckily, one of my older boy he's a very much, like, a touchy boy, like, in
What
the
do you
sense,
mean
like
older boy? They're twins.
I know they're twins, but, like,
Do
Hayden
you know
Hayden
who's who?
yeah, 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 of
Be
course, yeah.
honest.
No, of course, they look nothing alike.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not
I feel
identical.
like I would actually not know which one was which.
No, 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 they're not identical, and, like, one is
Okay.
clearly bigger, like, I
Oh,
mean,
really?
oh, yeah, he's a bully.
Really? What's
But
their
yeah,
name?
so I've got Hayden and Maverick.
Cute.
Yeah, and Hayden he's big, and he's just when you pick him up out of his crib, he will wrap his arms around your neck, and he will just snuggle into you, and he is the happiest boy in the entire world, and you're like, "Yeah, that's my boy right there." Like,
He's your favorite.
he looks like me, he acts like me, he gets
Mhm.
me so frustrated because 'cause I'm like, "Dude, like, you're everything that I am." So I understand why people get so annoyed by me, like, this is
Yep.
so frustrating. But they're awesome. Like, being a dad is, I think, the most important thing and the best thing that I've ever had the opportunity to do. Like, it's made me want more kids. I even want to adopt. Like, I
Mhm.
thought having 4 kids would be enough, and I'm like, I wanna make more money. That's literally the reason why I wanna make more money, so I can
Mhm.
have more kids. Like, I wanna foster, I probably want to adopt. Like, I know what it's like to see so many people and so many problems in the world, right? We look like, just being a dad and being a good father has been so degraded. Like, everyone on TV is just this idiot of a father, and they're just dumb, and
Deadbeat dads.
they're deadbeat dads, and we don't realize, I think we're starting to more recognize how important it is to be a good dad and how much impact that has. on your kids and just from the studies, just being there for your kids and what that means. And so I just feel like as a person, I want to be able to help a kid who has never had anything that doesn't have a chance of having a dad. Like I'd love that.
Mhm.
I am so happy and in my element being a dad. It's crazy. It's the best.
Do
So
you feel like once you had kids, the idea of legacy is top of mind?
yeah, I got to be honest with you in the sense of
Like, is there
found
more
out.
pride in your family name and stuff like that, and like your lineage and
No, not really. Like not in that sense. I guess like it's more of a remembrance thing in the sense of this. Like
Mhm.
I recently had my grandfather pass away.
I'm so sorry, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. It was about a month ago that he died, and he was just the best person. He was like somebody that could do no wrong.
Mhm.
He was incredible. He was born in 1923, so he grew up in the Great Depression. At
Wow.
11, he was orphaned. At 16, he met my grandmother and then they got married. Like he worked on their farm. They get married and then they have a baby and he immediately gives off to Germany to fight in the war. He's at the Nuremberg trials. He basically comes out 100% unscathed in the entire like he did not get it was a miracle like if of all the stuff that he did. So he comes home, they have 7 more kids. So we have this giant family, right? And then he just he was the happiest person in the world. Everybody loved him. And like that's my big thing is I want to show honor to him. So like when it comes to like family name, right? Like I want to name my next kid if I have a boy after my grandfather. Because I'm
Mm,
just like that's the legacy is like the people that came before me more
yeah.
than myself. Because I feel like I came from like this amazing, incredible place and I want that to be shared. I feel like my family in general is awesome, and I feel like we could really make an impact in the world of just being a little bit of a better place.
Mm,
That's the impact that I have, the legacy that I think about because we found out recently that the reason Nicole's been having miscarriages is because of a condition that I have, and it's called translocation. And basically, what happens is whenever the genetic sequence if you looked at it like a book, chapters 1 through 12, a lot of times what happens with my seed is the genetic sequence will a lot of times get up switched. So like chapter 9, like I said, a book, chapter 9 would be in chapter three's place. And what happens is
mm,
the female body recognizes that that's often going to have an issue. And so it will reject it, which is where there's the miscarriage. So that's a little bit higher in my body in comparison to like when we had to go through IVF the first time we take all of the healthy sperm and like we run it through and then all the embryos, once it gets to day 5, you can see which ones are healthy. And so out of the 10 that we had, 2 were perfectly healthy and those ended up being the boys.
mm.
So, it is possible, but like once we found this out over the past like 2, 3 months, I thought about like, okay, if we did naturally have a baby, there is a higher likelihood that he would be disabled. And so that really scared me in
Hearing
the sense
you. Yeah.
because it's not that I wouldn't love having a child who has issues, but for like a child, like who would want their child to not have the fullest of lives? Like I don't know. I'm saying this in the
I
wrong way. That's
I
gonna be
I
taken
get
out
what
of,
you're saying, and I agree. Like,
you know,
we'd be able to handle it, but it's like, it's obviously not what you want.
no, no, no. I'm around people at church that like they have disabilities, and like I look at how the parents have gotten so old, and I think like they're gonna die, and then what's gonna happen to this person, and
Mhm.
that scares me. It's more for the child. It's not for me. Like I don't care. And that was the first time where I really thought about it as far as legacy. When I realized, okay, once I do get a vasectomy, that's kind of it for me, and it did kind of make me sad. It did make me feel I wouldn't say like less of a man, but I did feel a certain way about it that I didn't expect
Mhm.
because I mean, it's just one cool thing that knowing like long term, if anything were to ever happen, God forbid in any way, but just the fact that like if Nicole passed away and like my next wife wanted to have kids, like I'd be like, I can't, like, like unless we go through
But
this
you can
IVF.
reverse a vasectomy,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but still,
I think I'll be
it
done.
runs through your mind.
Yeah, it exactly. It runs through your mind. And I think that was really when you talk about legacy, something that did stand out because I didn't think that I was that type of person. And it was just such a natural thought like, hey,
Yeah.
this is it just runs through your mind and it's periodic, but it's still it is different. It is weird when you're like, "Oh, yeah, like I can't do that anymore." And it's just when something's taken away from you, that's when it's different.
When you
It's like
think
it's
it was
not
so
something you care about.
natural. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Like if you who never wanted kids, if they found out like, "Hey, I have a condition where I can no longer have kids as a
Like,
woman."
wait, you want it more as a choice.
Exactly, exactly, you wanted that choice.
Yeah. What are you nervous about going through IVF again?
Nothing. I mean, mine part is super easy. I feel bad for Nicole because of like just the fact that we have kids now and it's going to be so much harder. And I saw the first time when we did it and how like the hormones just get so crazy jacked up and how she had all these hot flashes. It is not easy to go through in any way, shape, or form. And all the poking and prodding that they do to a woman's body. And she's a champ, you know? And then like even a C-section. That was the other thing too, is I'm like, God, like I don't understand how the human race has continued to exist after all these things that these women have to go through.
Mhm.
It's wild. She couldn't even move because of like that giant, gash in the middle of her stomach. And it's so God, it looks so painful and everything's so hard. And she's like, "Oh, I would do that again if it meant these boys." And that's what I talk about is the fact that like women just continue to amaze me every single day. Like I look at my wife and I'm like, God, like you're incredible. And having a daughter, like that'd just be awesome. Everything as far as IVF goes, I'm not really worried about anything on my end financially if they
That's what I
come
was gonna
through.
ask. It's a big financial burden, no?
That is, yeah, it's about 15 to 20 to do that. More than anything, like with starting this business, I think I really want to get it off the ground because in January, I don't mean, what if I lose my job, with the mandates that go through? What if she loses her job? I mean, we just don't know. And I want to have,
Would you get vaccinated to keep
no,
your job?
no,
Really?
no, I don't think so. Like,
But were you nervous about catching COVID not being vaccinated?
no. Mm-mm.
It's so interesting how the media really, like, creates our views on everything.
Hmm.
Because 'cause I'm fully vaccinated, and the
Hmm.
moment that I could, I was getting it.
Hmm. Yeah,
It was no second guessing it.
no, no, exactly. And that's what's so weird is it's like, what you're vaccinated, you believe in the vaccine and you're not worried about it. So why are you worried about what other people are doing? And they keep saying
The
like,
way I see it, it's like, if you believe in this vaccine enough
hmm,
that you should be protected if you got
hmm,
vaccinated yourself.
hmm,
Who cares what everyone else is doing?
exactly.
That's
Exactly.
my view on it, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about anyone else because I did what I can do,
Yeah. And
and I'll
and
make my choices where I go.
exactly. Like you said, you don't like people telling you what to do. Originally, I was like, you know what? I was kind of 50-50 on it. I was like, I more than anything, I just wanted to wait for long-term data. That
Mhm.
was the biggest thing. Because once like the main people that were dying with people with comorbidities and people that were over 60 years old, when you just looked at the statistics, you're like, oh, okay, like this is an old person's disease more and somebody that's like unhealthy. And I was like, I'm not like super unhealthy, but I was like, I'd probably get it. But then once they started coming down with mandates, I was like, okay, that
Chill
alone
out.
was once they start forcing something into your body and saying you have no choice, at that point, it turned me off to getting it more than it did anything because I was like, okay, if this is for my health, I want to make the decision for my health. And now you're making me not trust it more and
Mhm.
more. I'm seeing how many boosters you're having to get. Like, I am in no way, shape, or form am I worried about it this time. And even if I got COVID again, like, I will tell you, like, COVID sucked. I got scared for a moment that I like really was going to die. And I'm only 32. Like, what happened was I was losing so much fluid in my body. I couldn't keep anything down. I was in the bathroom and then I just started sweating profusely and my legs locked up. And then I started panicking. I was telling Nicole, like, hey, we need to call the doctor, like, or we need to call the ambulance. I got to get out of here. And so they're like, hey, if you have COVID, like, we're going to send the fire department down. And I think a lot of it was also mental because once they told me, I was like, hey, you're doing really good I was like, oh, okay. And the fear dissipated and
It's
I felt
funny
so
how
much
that
better.
is. Hey, it's all in our brain.
It's mindset, so much of it. But yeah, just the fact that like, if I don't stand up to the mandates of being forced to do something, there is nothing that they can't do. Once you start giving that power away and you don't take a stand, I think that's the biggest thing. Like I have immunity now because I had COVID, so I have nothing to worry about. But yeah, I think being told that they can force this into your body because there's an emergency, I just feel like once they start doing that, what is the limit that they can force inside of you? That's one of the biggest things.
I'm with you. I'm all for everyone making their own choices. I'll make mine for me. Honestly, the main reason why I made mine was to see my family.
Mhm. To
It
travel.
it it was almost 2 years.
100%. So I think circumstances are not taken in that aspect, but also, yeah, like part of it is like just being told, no, you have to. What is it about people being like, you have to get this? All these people that have come out of the woodwork to say, you have to get this. If the vaccine works, why are you so worried? And they keep saying, like, you need to
That's
protect yourself.
yeah.
I don't get it. And then if you even say that, you're immediately anti-vax. Even if you have reasons where you don't want to take it because of, again, I'm
Mhm.
willing to take it, but I just want more data. Nope, anti-vax. And like now that meaning has
Your
lost.
country is so divided. I
Yeah.
think that's the problem with most people. If they hear that someone has a different view on them, they want to fight them and
Mhm.
convince them to be on their side. It's like, no,
Right.
why can't you both have different opinions and be in the same room? That's
Do
the
you
issue.
do you think it's always been that same way? It's just
Yes.
the fact that okay, it's always been that same way. It's just the fact that we have like more social media, so it's everyone's view is
Always been that way.
okay.
Why do you think everyone's like, don't talk about politics, religion, or money?
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
like a well-known thing. Like, do not talk about those three
Right.
topics at a party.
Mhm.
It's because people get pissed off.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can very openly have all of those discussions because I don't
Right.
get angry about anything.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, I feel like a lot of times when you feel like you're in a safe environment to have this discussion, like it's totally fine. But yeah, I mean, it's annoying how everything is political, everything is establishment, and like I think that's the biggest thing is going through this pandemic. Like whenever someone would talk about anti-establishment and there's the elites and the deep state and this and this and this, I was like, this is such bullshit. And like now I'm like, well, hold on, there's
There
what's
might
going
be
on
some
here?
truth to this one.
What's going on here? So to answer your homeschool question, yes, I want to homeschool my kids because everything seems to lie.
So are you coming back again to talk about all the conspiracy theories? Because I feel like we're onto something.
I mean, I am so down for it, but again, I'll get canceled, and eventually when I run for
That's fine. Let's just
politics,
both get canceled.
I'm
It's okay.
down. I'm down. Like,
We're
are
not
like,
famous enough yet, so it doesn't matter.
God, I'm learning. We are living in a giant lie, and we'll save it for the next episode.
I know, I know. Okay, so last question for you. If you had to ask for one thing from the universe right now, what is it?
If you know of a med spa owner and they are interested in getting more clients, allow me to work with them, and I will get them clients for 30 days. I'll work with you. That's the main thing is I want to get some clients. I want to help some people. That's all I want to do. I want to help. I want to serve, and I want to make the world a better place.
Well, thank you so much for being here. You need to come back regularly. Like, this is so easy to do, you know?
Yeah, I love talking with you. So
I know.
anytime you want to invite me back, please do.
You are always welcome. Okay, we're calling it here. Have a good night.
Thank you.